이 칼날의 공포를
7K dreamer please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be checking out Mythic Awakened Gideon's Dungeon, and I'll be using two different teams so you can, see whichever you like. But before that, we'll check out his skill set. He decreases all damage taken by 40%, he increases the damage he deals to you by 40%, he also decreases your defense by 2000, and he also decreases your status effect resist rate by 40%. So probably you would have already known he does cast death on his second skill. Okay, this skill only does isolation and ignores defense. It was also the one that killed my Velika in the opening, as you saw, which was pretty surprising. But then again, okay, my Velika didn't have any armor, okay, in that run. Okay, so he also has 80% chance to land death and decrease buff duration by 2 turns. So chances are he will land a death on you because he reduces 40% status effect resist rate, right? But later on, I'll tell you guys why you may not need Gyarados. Of course, in my runs, I did use Gyarados. Okay, for his Awakened skill, he deals 40,000 fixed damage to 4 enemies and applies the buff block and also resets his skill cooldown, which means there's a chance that he will use his death again, right? And then over here, his effect attack does land Fear. So the team I'll be using does consist of Anti for Fear immunity and Gyarados for Death immunity. These two heroes are heroes which I have been suggesting since the Prime Hero selectors came out, so I don't see any reason why even new players don't have these heroes now. Okay, everyone should have these two heroes, I feel. And then you also have Velika as the DPS, and the two supports are Yuri and Vanessa. Vanessa for lethal rate increase, Yuri for crit rate increase. For the gear wise, this was initially the setup I had. No armor on my Velika. Unfortunately, she died very quickly, so I decided, okay, I need to give her some armor, and I gave her some PvE Mythical Awakened HP armor. For the jewels, you saw that I used very basic jewels, right? Crit, non-Mythical Awakened, but you do need Revolutionary jewels for the best outcome. And I'm also using Berserker Ring on her with the increased damage dealt to offensive enemies. Traits and Fighter Soul, they don't really matter in this case, okay, because you should have enough crit and lethal rate if you have guild buffs as well. So for Yuri and the front line, they are mainly with defensive setups, HP armor, defensive jewels and Willful Ring. My anti is actually on a PvP setup, so I'm not changing that. Gyarados didn't have any jewels at all, only HP armor and Willful Ring. Okay, so for Vanessa as well, HP armor, defensive jewels and Willful Ring. She does have a reduced fixed damage accessory, so if you have that, even better for your frontline units. So first things first is of course to cast the Yuri debuff, or you can actually use Velika's top skill first, okay, so that Yuri can actually cool it down. Now if you are newer and returning player, you might feel that your damage output won't be as much as mine, so you will take slightly longer. What you can do is you will need to try your best to give your units a proper HP armor at least, okay, and Willful Rings. That's the bare minimum. Okay, anything more than that, you have to rely on your Velika's weapons. So that's all. That's really all. He does cast isolation, so you have to get rid of it by wasting one skill. Otherwise, you can opt for a cleanser if you do have one. Unfortunately, on this team, there's no cleanser. Thing is, if you want to use a cleanser, you can actually swap out Anti, okay, for someone like Rosie. Rosie will definitely help to keep your team alive, or even use a healer like Karin, who can double up as a death immunity provider as well. As you can see here, Velika's Awakened skill just straight up kills him in one shot, so it's really not that difficult in terms of strategy. You can also use the offensive team, and the offensive team I've chosen is to use Mei, Colt, Fenrir, Yuri and Gyarados, again for death immunity. So this is the gear setup I have for my Mei. My Mei is quite stacked, okay, but you don't have to worry as long as you have proper Mythical Awakened weapons and some PvE jewels, and that'll be fine. And for the rest of the gear, it's pretty much the same, defensive jewels, Willful Ring and HP armor. Okay, of course change the masteries to physical attack if you're using an offensive team, and I'm using Dillo as well for the pet. Now, one thing to note here, I want to talk about Galidus, is that you realize that if you are strong enough, you actually don't really need Galidus. You can let the death go through because you'll still end up killing him within 3 turns, so it's such that he will not be able to use his death skill a second time, right? But if your damage is slightly lower and you are not able to kill him off in the first 3 turns or before he uses his awakened skill, then you may need Galidus. You see that my Mei here also has gotten Fear because he counter-attacked my Mei, so that's the problem without using anti. Otherwise, you can try to use Teo instead, but I don't think there's a space for this team to have Teo on it, because Teo only provides death immunity, whereas Cult and Fenrir and Yuri actually provide much better buffs, or land better debuffs than Teo. Yuri can land the debuff so that you can do more damage. You can try to use Teo instead of Yuri and see whether Mei can hit the damage that you need. Okay, and if that is possible, then you can probably use Teo for fear immunity, and yeah, basically the run is just as such. He is not as complicated as other Prime heroes, in fact. Okay. So after I've completed the dungeon for 30 days, you can actually synthesize for 1 copy of Gideon here in the synthesis, and I think you guys should do that because he's pretty amazing as a hero, okay, his design, and by now you should have gotten 29 copies of Elf's research record. I missed out on 2 days, so yeah, tomorrow technically everyone should be getting a free Elf if you have been doing the dungeon consistently. Okay, so big shout out to my channel members, ZMD Phoenix, Yamaki, Reggie Bautista, and Hibigu for the support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much, and see you!